Was Alex not going to be here today?
I thought he was, but and then Christine was going to be here, but she got exposed last week.
Oh, well, we're glad she's not here.
Right. So your timing was good. So we just had an impromptu break. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, I gotta get something sent.
Okay.
I gotta
All
get
right.
back on I had a teleconference. I'll get in before you.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
All
One
right.
of those
So
mornings.
anyway, so sorry about that.
No.
Little interruption. Anyway.
It's good that they were able
Cool.
to come.
Yeah. So anyway. Great.
Yeah.
Nice surprise. Anywho, so when we're talking about the brand, understanding that your customers are looking for certain things. So understanding that what they're looking for is someone with a strong reputation. If we know that 55% means not only honesty, trustworthy, but that they have a good reputation, your brand has to be consistent. Your brand has to say a lot about who you are and what you do. That means it has the look, and then the feel, and then the experience. So it has to come together. Becomes really important, and I think what's sad is sometimes we forget that as realtors. We get so engaged in the business and the transactions and going through them, we forget the impact not only it has on the other side, but it has on the business that moves us forward.
Right.
I
So that's why
apologize.
you're fine.
No, no problem.
You're fine. So that's why we provide you with some of this background and information, is that when you start to identify how you want your brand to feel and look, think about what your customer is expecting. Whether you have a ton of experience in real estate or you don't have as much, you need to know what someone on the other side is going to say, because I think more specifically you probably, with your background, knows that people don't always know what to say. And they're not going to give you the answer because they don't know what the question is, because they
Right.
don't do this as often as you do this.
Yeah.
So it becomes a challenge. It becomes the piece to kind of connect and provide a much stronger experience. So your brand becomes really important.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I first met Linda and Selby and they pulled out that information, I could tell right away that was their brand. After knowing them, it made sense.
Yeah. And that was when they were brokers or no? Just agents?
They were agents.
Just
They were just agents.
And they had their own. Interesting. I never thought about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And now we've taken what was initially the brand, enhanced it, and have also trademarked it.
Yeah.
So we feel strongly that it can be powerful.
Yes.
And that's what we want to encourage our agents to do too, is I know that there are people who've been around for years, and I know that some of them have been very successful year after year after year after year. So I can't say that you have to have one, but I sure can say that when you're one of 11,000 or one of nearly 12,000, you need to be prepared to differentiate yourself.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot about in the brand element also is finding those value propositions. What are they? How do you differentiate yourself? How do you position yourself? How can, after I've had a transaction with you, what 3 things can I say about you that I want to tell someone else so that they're going to call you?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
it's like that thing, that rock in the water that just ripples. It just keeps going.
Yeah.
So, being in Legends of Real Estate, or being within Legends of Real Estate, we think that there are some key points of differentiation. Why do we bring these up? We bring these up because we want you to, one, see why we think we're different. We want you to attach to those that you feel work for you, and then build off of them. Again, helping you with your foundation, trying to find those elements that are key, that should be consistent, but then also that you can launch or move your business forward with them. So we are an independent brokerage. We feel that this is very important because we believe that we can make decisions a little more quickly than some of the larger brokerages can. And larger isn't always better.
Right.
Quality versus quantity type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we believe that independent brokerage, or being an independent brokerage, allows us to focus on what changes in the market, to react to those a little more quickly and swiftly. That provides a stronger foundation for us as a brokerage and you as an agent itself. Training and support. We feel that we have a very strong training program. Especially amongst independent brokerages, we feel that we have one of the strongest training programs. As it comes to franchised brokerages, we would put our training up against them.
Yeah.
We really would. Anyway, enough said on that. We feel like the training is good. And support wise, I mean, between Erica and Rick and Jonathan and Audrey and myself, we feel we have some good support networks, not only in years and longevity, but also in knowledge.
Right.
And understanding the business. So we feel that we can give you those. The marketing resources, flyers I think are important. Marketing resources, being able to have access to different marketing resources and potentially purchase in bulk so that we can actually make it a little more cost effective for you, I think is important also. So marketing resources, I think we have access to those. Education programs, but we bring in outside trainers, which is important. I think, sometimes you hear it from somebody, you hear something from someone you know well, and it sometimes doesn't have as much impact when you hear it from a third party.
Sure.
So if we can share it with you, and then we can get someone else to share it with you, hopefully by the third or fourth time, there's an element of it that you can own,
Yeah.
or take away from it, which is nice. Relocation and company generated business. Relocation wise, we have wonderful network, so that as you meet people outside of the market, and when I say outside of the market, that is outside of the Jacksonville metro area, because you may not be as knowledgeable of Miami or of Naples. So getting a connection there is important, and being able to send referrals there. We have connections there, we have links there. Sending a referral to Denver, Illinois, or wherever it happens to be, we have connections there that can help you so that you feel comfortable that your customer is going to have a very positive experience there. And the same goes, because we have those connections, they bring resources or they bring referrals to us, and that's relocation business. And we do tie ourselves to certain third-party relocation companies or have access to them. The other thing I would encourage for relocation is, if you know someone, and we kind of touched on this, but if you know someone who's a C-level person, human resources, CEO, CFO at a smaller mid-sized company, let's work together to create a program for them, for their employees. There's no reason that you can't connect with their employees, and that means whether their employees are looking to buy locally, looking to sell locally, or they move people through different offices to other parts of the state or outside of the state. You can create a program where you're the preferred realtor for a company. There's no reason you can't do that. So there might be an opportunity in that. Company generated business, that comes in sometimes from our networking opportunities, but it also comes from our website. Our website does generate some leads. We're looking on ways to improve those leads. We usually vet those leads before we send them out, so that our agents don't get just random nothing.
Right.
Don't just get random leads, let's just say.
Right.
So we'll work with that. Luxury properties. I don't know if this is something you're looking at doing. I don't know if it's a focus for you, but we do have a whole luxury course and backup. So if someone's looking, okay, good. Here's the deal. It's with luxury. A lot of times it's a mindset. It's an image, but it's also a mindset. So our process doesn't usually just say, well, if it's over X number of dollars, it's luxury. Like, did you see the one in Avondale that's 2.2?
No, I didn't.
So there's a house in Avondale that's listed at 2.2 million. It is not on the water. Which, first of all, like, really?
Right.
And second of all, it's a nice house that has a second lot. No doubt about it. Nice
Right.
house. You know the people who own it.
Okay.
Nice couple. I gotta tell you, I don't know where the number comes from.
Yeah.
It is a brick Tudor on 2 lots, nice pool, beautiful outdoor facility. Still don't know where the number comes.
How far off do you think they are?
I would say they're off by $1 million.
That's a big.
Or more.
Yeah.
Do I think it's a nice house? Absolutely. I think the main house is 2,400 square feet, 2,600 square feet. If it's 3,000, it's only because they converted the attic, you know?
Yeah.
brick, nicely done, nicely decorated, overly decorated.
That's a couple times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good kitchen, but kind of small for what it.
Right.
Pretty cool. Again, amazing outdoor covered, you know, with the TV and the fireplace and the huge bar area and the refrigerator. I mean, really nice. You know?
Yeah.
But
They kind of expected though, like at a certain amount that would not be enough, you know.
yeah, and it's funny you say that because we're looking like you, and part of the reason we're living in what was our weekend house is because we can't find we're having trouble with, and it does apply. Your customer's gonna have a certain expectation. I'll take it personally. When we're looking and we were thinking, you know, this is a significant price range. We feel that this is a significant price range, and I, for some reason, felt that price range should always have a built-in refrigerator. I just felt it should have a Sub-Zero or a Wolf, or you know, it should have a built-in refrigerator.
Yeah.
Hardly any of the houses have built-in refrigerators. They have little, and not even the nice, you know, what is it, the KitchenAid Cafe series or whatever.
Right.
It's not even those. It's just the Frigidaire slider.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, hold on. I feel like this is a significant price range, and this is what I'm getting. So that level of expectation is something huge that we have to talk through with our customers that we don't think about.
Yeah.
What are your expectations at your price point? Well, you know, I want a pool with solar. I'm sorry, it's not gonna happen for you.
Right. Yeah. It's better that they know up front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. The problem is that in this market anyway. Now there was one on St. John's that sold for 1.8. Now it was on the riverside of St. John's, not on the river, but I never thought it would sell for that. So, you know, I could be way off on at least over $1 million.
Sure.
Off on that one, but whatever. But so my point is that most people at 2.2 would consider that a luxury property. It's not a luxury property.
Yeah.
It is not. When you're looking at luxury or the luxury market, there are certain expectations that someone has, and understanding that luxury market becomes very different. You know, there are certain finishes, there are certain appointments, there are certain expectations. You said it perfectly. That someone looking in the luxury line expects.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of these TV shows
I've seen some of them, yes.
have sent many of us off in the wrong direction.
So funny.
So our luxury program looks to try and help you differentiate what a luxury property is. So there's a luxury course that we want you to take, and then that should help you decide whether you truly want to get into the luxury market. If you want to get into the luxury market, then we do require you to become a member of the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing, which I think is one of the strongest resources for luxury trends and luxury, truly identifying a luxury property. This market has pushed many properties into a price point that one would believe that should be a price point for luxury, but it's so far from the truth.
Yeah.
So far from the truth. So we do look at it differently. We as a company do not set a price point for luxury. We set an amenity or expectation level for luxury. We have a whole different sign for luxury too. So
yeah.
it's got a 3-dimensional head on it and stuff.
Oh, really?
And lighting. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah, different. Anyway. Excuse me, and then networking. Erica does a fantastic job at networking. She's a member of the WCR, which is the Women's Council of Realtors, which is a very strong organization in our real estate community. Initially started for women, it is available for men these days too. But great organization. As a matter of fact, she's on the executive committee for Women's Council of Realtors locally. We've got Jerry Landrum, who's one of our agents, who is current president for the local, and Missy Karras, who's the incoming president of the local. Audrey is a past president for the state. And we've got a few other people who are involved in Women's Council of Realtors from our company. Both Audrey and I are involved with the board locally, We're involved state, and then I'm involved nationally.
Wow.
So we really believe it's important, one, for networking, but also we want you guys to have the best information possible. So if we can bring that to you a little quicker than other resources can, we think that that's an important piece. But we also think it's important to get back to our industry, so that's why we stay involved. Audrey is currently on the board of directors and on budget and finance. I'm currently on budget and finance. I'm on our global committee. I'm on a presidential advisory committee for diversity for local, state. We're both directors for the board, for the state board. I'm an NAR director. I teach for Florida Realtors. So we try to stay engaged so that we can get one information back to, but it feeds us also. I mean,
Right.
It's a two-way street
Sure.
for us. So networking is key, especially around here. Find things that you enjoy, and then see how you can get involved in them.
Yeah.
You become the resource in that. So you are your business. So some of the things that we want to look at. I mentioned the SWOTs. Really important to be able to start looking at that. Spend some time. Don't do it all at once. Kind of jump in and out of it, if you will. Answer those questions, and then if you can, engage a good friend or a family member that you trust. So that really helps. The mission and the vision really are the where am I going. This is that story that helps people relate to you, so you can kind of see which pieces make sense and what is that mission and vision. Again, mission and vision, short, interesting, pie in the sky can be. Something fun that people can relate to. You don't want it too boring. With your business analysis, I think your business analysis is understanding who your customer is. So as you start to go to your circles of influence, see what ribbons connect those people. Those will be things that allow you to expand your business based on those characteristics, likes, and commonalities. And that kind of will branch us into psychographics a little bit too. What are their goals? What are their objectives? It's a little bit about what we were just talking about. That why thing becomes so important. It's hard for people to share information with you, and it's not always easy to understand their why unless you really start asking the questions. We have a buyer consult sheet, we have a seller consult sheet, questions to ask. So to help maybe direct you a little bit. But it's a good place to start. Understanding those whys. We know a little bit, I mentioned this, a little bit about selecting an agent. Well, reputation, honest and trustworthy. So the thing about where the brokerage ties into that is you can use some of what we do or have done or some of our accomplishments to help you build your reputation too. And it won't take long before you have your own feature and value propositions to go ahead and share with your customer base. Your detailed analysis, this is really where your ins and outs of understanding what's happening in the market becomes so important. Number of days on the market, list to sales price percentages, market trends, finding, looking at, watching, distressed properties, because our distressed property inventory has been very low.
Right.
It's starting to increase.
Yes, I'm seeing that.
You've seen that
Yes.
too?
Yes.
Where are you looking for it at, or where are you finding it?
St. Augustine is where we're looking, and just less and less of the more updated even properties, but just more, I wouldn't say foreclosures, but just a lot more work that's needed.
Yeah, people think that just because it's here, I can sell it for a lot more.
Right, yeah.
And I think that with distressed properties, I think we're going to see a little more in the short sales with the people who had forbearance and had moved maybe some of their financing to the end of their loan. I think we're probably going to see some possibilities of that rearing its head.
And as investors, we always try to do short sale because of the price. But every agent we ever worked with was like, don't. We tried it. We ended up backing out because it was like 8 months in. And do you recommend pushing out buyers from that direction, or how do you approach that?
Usually what I'll tell a buyer or ask a buyer is how much time do you have?
Yeah.
Because when short sales became more blossomed in our industry, they weren't the quick, cheap thing. Well, they weren't the quick thing that everybody expected.
Mm-hmm.
Because banks got inundated with properties and didn't know how to manage them.
Yeah.
Consumers didn't know what to do with it. So it became a very difficult place. And people ended up living in homes for years before the house ever was able to be sold.
Mm-hmm.
So someone who wanted that house and was thinking they could get a deal, by the time 2 years had passed, couldn't get a deal anymore because banks started to realize what the value was and started to put them at market value. So the short sale was that you couldn't pay off your note, but the bank wasn't willing to take so much less. They were willing to take a little less, but not so much less. So the excitement of them waned very quickly.
Yeah.
At the onset, there were some great deals. Within about a year, not so much.
Yeah.
So I usually tell people, and now the process has gotten faster.
Is it?
It has gotten faster. So what I would usually tell people is, look, if you have the stomach for it, go for it. But if you're looking to get in, get something fixed up, and flip,
Right.
then short sales are probably not your best.
What's the average time frame now?
You're looking for at least 90 days.
90 days, okay.
Yeah, at least
Better
90
than 8
days.
months.
And something.
Having to
Yeah,
back out, yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. But it's because there's a process. Now here's the problem. So you meet someone and you say, well, I think your house should sell at around $450,000, and they say, well, I owe $560,000. Okay, we have a problem here.
Yeah.
You know? So can you afford to keep the house?
Right.
No, I can't. Great. And then you need to start the process now with your bank to learn whether or not they're going to allow you to sell it for less. But what if they don't? I don't know what to tell you about that. If they don't, then we have to follow whatever other steps there are. But what I can tell you is you need to talk to your bank.
Mm-hmm.
I can't talk to your bank. You need to talk to your bank. And you need to find out what they need in order for you to do a short sale.
Okay.
So and then you need to get with a title company that has a short sale department, like Riley Williams has a short sale department, a couple of other title companies have short sale departments, because this is not for you, not you personally. It's not for most realtors. It involves daily phone calling, it involves talking to random people that never have the same story twice.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's anybody's, well, yeah, it is. The lenders, don't have a consistent process for it other than, we need to get this amount of money or we can't take less than this. Or how are we going to approve that short sale, or why should we approve the short sale in this market, knowing that they could end up taking the house anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and when people have second and thirds, remember, if the bank is willing to, if the first is willing to work, but the second or third is not willing to work, then it just blows up and it ends up being done as a foreclosure.
Yeah.
So, and then you have people, it's a tough business because you've got, you talk about emotions high.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, then they start taking things out of the house or breaking things or ruining things, and then you can't get utilities on for inspections because, of course, the utility company is not going to turn on utilities and have the water come pouring into the house and then get blamed for the floor being worked. So it's a challenge. It's a real challenge. It has gotten better, but it's still really a challenge.
Yeah.
It's always best if you can get them at the front end before
Right.
they even go to short sale.
Yeah.
So, or somebody who's having a difficult time.
Yeah.
Which is hard too.
Yeah.
Having a difficult time and you're trying to buy their house. So anyway, but distressed properties, I think we're going to see more of those. Distressed being short sale and pre-foreclosure.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
What I tell customers is, look, you just have to be willing to stick into it and get under contract on multiple properties. And here's the other thing they have to realize is a lot of investors don't acknowledge that, look, I'm buying this house, I want to get it fixed up and flipped as quickly as I can. Okay, Mr. and Miss Investor, just so we're clear, what does that mean? How fast are you trying to do this? I want to do it I want to get it back on the market in 60 days. Great. So let me explain to you what that's going to mean. That's going to mean that for at least 1 month, no FHA, no VA.
Right.
Because the title has to cure for at least 90 days before FHA or VA will approve a loan on a property that has been flipped.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so now you've got an investor who's in that sweet spot of $250,000 or $300,000, which is prime for FHA and VA buyers. And they're thinking, and you're showing them that 60% of the market is FHA or VA, and they're going, well, I need to get it sold in, I've got a hard money lender who's breathing down my throat. I've got to get it sold in 45 days. Okay, well, it's going to have to be conventional or cash.
Right. There we go.
And then a lot of people who are doing conventional aren't looking at that price point. They're at
Right.
other price points.
Right.
So it's like, so it's hard to tell an investor, slow your roll.
Yeah.
Don't get it done as quickly as you want. But that also means then they probably have to have 2 or 3 properties going at that time.
Right.
So,
Interesting.
yeah. I mean, between the lending and it's interesting, yeah. It becomes really an opportunity.
Yeah.
So,
We foresee working with a lot of investors because that's right now our customer base.
Sure.
So we would have to be in that role and sending that to them. So I didn't know about that, but they're not really like fix and flip. They're just long-term investors. So
okay, so fix and rent.
yeah, fix and rent.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
There's lots of opportunities for that.
Right. Exactly.
Even on some of those distressed properties.
Right.
They just have to be willing to hold for a little while.
Right.
I mean, wait for a little while to close.
Right.
I guess is what I should say.
Yeah.
But the MLS is really one of your key elements, or key places to get that information. And you need to be aware of that. So, goal setting, when we look at our goals, and this is 2 pages later for that pyramid. Sorry, anyway, so this is how we look at our goals. We look at creating a goal first, and then from the goal you identify different strategies. So each goal, and when I say goal, goal is one element. So if, as a realtor, I say my goal is to have 18 transactions and 6 million in production, that's 2 separate goals. 2 separate goals. They're not one. Can one impact the other? Absolutely. But they're not one goal. I want to have 18 transactions. Goal 1. I want to do 4 million in production. Goal 2. And they have to be different because your strategies are different.
Right.
So you should have at least one. We would hope you'd have maybe up to 3 strategies for each goal. And then you're going to have tactics. So tactics are the things you're going to do. The strategy or how we're going to do it, the tactics are the things that we're going to do, and then the action plan is the time. This is how we lay out our goals.
Okay.
Or how we look at our goals. And goals, there's a variety of different things that we look at our goals, and one of them is financial. So on the next page, there's a kind of a fill me in type thing. So what we're looking at here is we really want to understand what kind of income do you want to have from this process? You obviously have other interests, but what kind of income do you want from this interest? So that's what we're looking at here. And the thing that agents forget sometimes is we don't take taxes. So you've got to gross that up a little bit
Yeah.
to give you what that really truly translates to.
Right.
And then you even have to gross it up a little bit more because you're going to have expenses.
Right.
And we got to take those into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
This is the number we end up looking at. And this, a lot of people start here. This is where you got to start.
Yeah.
So this takes you through that. And we don't want it all to be about numbers, but this is one of the pieces we need to look at.
Sure.
So from there, what we want to look at is what's the transaction goal. So if I want to make this amount of money, I got to figure out first how much am I going to make on each transaction. So we first look at your average sales price. So if you haven't done a lot of business or don't have a big book of business, we say use around 325, anywhere from 250 to 325 would be a good average. Our company average is right now at currently 364. So for some markets that's high, some markets that's low. 325 is probably pretty good. Or if you have a specific geography that you want to go after, you might want to take the average sales price in that. Excuse me. Working with investors, you may want to have two. You may want to have what your average sales price that your investor group is looking at, and you may want to have for your traditional markets, so you can identify what your transactions will be. We may have to break your goal out slightly further.
Okay.
Have it into two categories, an A and a B category, because you already know a little bit about who your base is. So we may need to break that out a little bit. We want to know what the average commission is. So the average commission percentage is what the market is bearing. Right now the market is bearing about 2.5%. So that would be 2.5. That would tell us what our gross commission income is. And then we would take our split, and that would give us what our income is. That allows us to say this divided by this equals the certain number of transactions that we would need. Right? And then we flip that over, and what we want to do is break it out buyer versus seller. What I will tell you is traditionally, when someone first gets into the business, they're looking at about 70% buyers and 30% sellers.
Yeah.
Yours may shift. Yours may be 80% buyers based on the impact of Group A, your investor group, versus your traditional group. So we want to look at that and kind of get a feel for that a little better to see how it breaks out. And then if we're looking at appointments, we know that in here, this is so in this age of social media. Sometimes people think that when I post something and you comment on it, that's a connection. It's not. You have to comment and I have to respond. You have to respond to that. Then we're getting close to having a conversation.
Right.
Then when we have a conversation, when we start a conversation, then that becomes a contact. So you have to have a certain number of contacts to get an appointment. You have to have a certain number of appointments to get what would be considered what we would consider either a listing contract or a buyer contract. So that's kind of how this breaks out, the 25 to 2 and the 4 to 2 type thing. But if we can get you to focus even just to this point, that's great. Then we have a number, we can talk a little bit more about how detailed we want to get in that number.
Okay.
Get to that number. But where does it come from? So this is when we start looking at different resources. So the primary resources for almost anyone are your centers of influence. Your centers of influence are people who already know you, like you, trust you. That's who these centers of influence are. Those are the people who are most likely going to be giving you business no matter what. They're going to be the people that are your family. They're going to be people that are your friends. They're going to be people that you interact with regularly, your investment group. They could be people that you play sports with or play mahjong with or whatever it happens to be. That's probably going to be your primary center of influence. Again, it's know me, like me, trust me as a realtor. If you can build that bridge with those first three already in place, it takes much less time to get to that trust me as a realtor than trying to start with hi.
Right.
So again, family, friends. Geographic targeting is big in our business. I think it's still big, but there's so much competition that sometimes geographically targeting an area, you have to be really, really, really refined. Not refined, refined as in how you define that geography. Because you can get a subdivision and have 10 realtors living in one subdivision.
Right.
So how do you break down that subdivision? Do you break down that subdivision by price point? Do you break it down by street? And then you have to look. So if I now say, well, the subdivision has 10 realtors in it, so I'm going to carve this section out here, and this has only got 150 houses in it, that I want to be the realtor of choice in that area. Well, in that 150 houses, how many turn over each year? Right. Can I really? Now, I'm not saying don't. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying we need to set realistic goals to that geography.
Right.
It's definitely possible, And can it fester? Absolutely. But we have to figure out what the investment is, what the turnover is, what percentage of my business is going to create cash flow from here. So looking at that becomes important. So geographic targeting to me is a little on the archaic side. So when I first started, each of us in the office had to take a section of the area that we were in. It's like, that's your section. I don't go in your section unless someone from your section calls me. This is my section over here, so you don't go to my section.
That's within the brokerage?
That was within the brokerage, 100 years ago.
Right.
No more.
Yeah, right.
No more. What we found, our markets became very fluid. Because that was my market, Avondale. That's where I lived. That's where my office was. It took me 2 minutes to get there.
Right.
You know, and so that's where I thrived. So when I got someone who wanted to be out at the beach, like, oh man, I don't know the beaches.
Yeah.
But you can bet that I was seeing that the market was shifting. So when I learned from relocation that I could get somebody and do a tour for them, I'm like, give them to me. And I toured them all around the beaches. I'm like, okay, I had to study, I had to learn, I had to drive, and then I had to pretend like I knew what I was talking about when I got in the car.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was pretty funny all on its own. Anyway, but then I became comfortable with the beaches. So now if someone said, okay, I want something to be great, tell me a little bit about what you're looking for. Okay, that's more of an Atlantic beach versus a Jack's Beach type of description. Have you seen the two? Do you know the two? Does that matter to you? You know, so, and then Ponte Vedra, they all have a different flair, vibe, and feel. So you have to be able to talk those pieces. So geographic targeting, I almost think is a little by the wayside.
Okay.
Because it's hard to own an area large enough that turns over enough to provide the income that you might be looking for from that geographic target.
Right.
Because it's not so blocked off anymore. You know? So anyway, if there is a geography going after, we really want to look at that. We want to look at the turnover. We want to look at what your expectations are. And if your income goal or your volume goal, what percentage of that is going to contribute to your volume goal? Let's see how it matches. I love psychographic targeting.
Sounds interesting.
I just love it. Anyway, all this is working with people who like the same things you do. So we love restaurants. We love going out and trying new places. So if I'm classified as a foodie, I'm a foodie. It's fine.
Sure.
But it's finding other foodies. And the thing I love about psychographic targeting is it breaks economic and geographic boundaries. So we have friends that will meet from the beaches or from St. Augustine at a new restaurant they find in Fernandina. We'll meet, so it breaks those boundaries that tend to be very traditional in someone's head. Geographic. I want to only do, 55 plus. I'm, only going to do this demographic group. You heard Liz mention millennials.
Right.
Her son is a millennial, so it's not necessarily that he's trying just for millennials, but that's who his center of influence is, and that's also a psychographic group. They think a certain way, they act a certain way, they have a certain expectation, and that's what we're talking about with psychographics. So if you have a hobby, do you have a hobby that you like that takes up part of your time?
Mostly it's homeschooling, so I have homeschooling niche with other homeschoolers.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So you all think in similar ways. You have a certain criteria. You have a certain desire for your children. You have a certain motivation that has allowed you or pushed you to do this. So you already have a connection. Know me, like me, trust me.
Right.
Trust me as a realtor. So it's finding those groups or niches that you connect with, that make sense for you, that you can then use to build your business or to talk about. And in most cases, it's just the platform to share versus you got to work with me.
Right. Right.
It's the platform to share where they now see you as the expert for that source. So, it can be Rotary clubs, it can be church groups, it can be book clubs, but it's people that have a similar interest that drive them that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks at it very differently. The other cool thing about psychographics that I like is, so now homeschooling, so you obviously read certain things, you obviously are involved in certain activities. Well, when you find those, you then share them with the group from not only you, but you, the realtor. Right?
Right.
So they begin to make that connection.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just separating you,
Right.
but that it's the realtor. So, and sometimes it's we have one agent who's very involved with her grandkids, and they go to a school that her kids went to. So she's now a sponsor at that school. But people know her,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the people who go to that school, while most of them come from around the school, it's not exactly where she lives, it's close.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a great way that she's kind of taking them in with a different reason. Why? She's very concerned about her grandchildren's education,
Right.
and being able to impact that. So that's what's motivating her more than give me business, give me business. It's twofold.
Right.
So psychographics I'm really into because I think it's a great way to connect with people.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, in part that you already know,
Right.
and to help them. Demographic is cool, but in part because it can kind of break geographic boundaries. But demographic you have to be very careful with, just with fair housing,
Right.
and just have to be aware.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to really be aware. So those are some of the pieces. With your goal setting, looking back into this, the next page actually will identify or show you the goal worksheet. So this is how we line them out. Really just, one goal. So if I wanted to do $4 million worth of business this year, then what are those strategies? I have to have a way to make that happen. So at least one. I probably wouldn't go more than 3, just because when you start to get too many strategies to it, the execution falls apart.
Right.
But 1 or 2 strategies, dynamic for your goal. And then we have to have the tactics, the how. This is my what, this is my why, this is my how type of thing, and this is the timeline for it. So that's how we ask you to really kind of take a look at your goals. Identify your goals, identify as many goals as you want. Sometimes we have to narrow them down? Yes. Do sometimes they overlap? Sure, of course. But how can we get the goals managed well? So anyway, that's kind of what we'll do. That's how we ask you to take a look at your goals, is 1 goal, 1 to 3 strategies, then the tactics that follow, and the timeline that you're looking to achieve that. Please don't put any timeline on your strategies or on your process any less than at least 6 months.
Okay.
I know that we get anxious. I know that we like to see quick results. I know that we're a society of immediacy. You have to give something time to work.
Right.
Marketing, media, they all have a residual effect. So what is that residual effect? How long does it take? Give it some time to work. The other thing is, and we'll talk about marketing more in a second, but if I do one thing, that's great, but how am I supporting that one thing? If I say, oh my gosh, I sent out 11 cards. Oh, great. Did you call any of those people? Did you follow up with a letter? Did you do a pop by on any of them? No, I just had 11, nobody responded. Okay, great. Well, we may need to look at the execution on something like that at that
What is the most successful thing for a new agent who's also, we're kind of new to the area. We don't have a lot of roots or family, or we're still kind of developing that here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you recommend for a new agent in the area?
Getting out and talking to people.
Yeah.
So if you don't know a lot of people, talk to the people you know first, figure out what the common thread is, and find something that you would like to be involved in. Don't go to something that you don't want to do just because you think you can get your business.
Mm-hmm.
it won't work.
Right.
You'll be unhappy,
Right.
and they won't work with you.
Right.
So my first thing would be find those things that you enjoy doing, and create a center of influence out of them.
Mhm.
The friends, I mean, you're obviously with your homeschooling. That's a great group of people. What you need to do is get them together
Right.
and let them know. It can start with a postcard, or excuse me, a letter. A card is best. Something,
Okay.
just a handwritten note. Hey, I'm very excited. Wanted to share my business card with you, and always include at least 3, not just one.
So I can share it.
Yeah, hold on to one and give 2 to the next person that asks you about real estate. The thing that I think we're afraid to say to someone that I think is very powerful is, I need your help. I think that we feel like that shows weakness when it truly doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. If you had a friend or even an acquaintance that said, I need your help, would you not say, tell me more?
Mm-hmm.
You may not say, what can I do? You may say, tell me a little more.
Sure.
What are you looking for? And if it was someone you know, you'd probably be like, all about it, what's up? I got your back. And it's not that, it's sometimes just saying to someone, look, I could use your help. I've started my business in real estate. I need to get the word out. Would you feel comfortable handing out 5 of my business cards? Absolutely. Now, whether they hand out 1 or 5, they at least know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sending notes to people, including your business card. Finding ways to get groups of people that you're connected with, especially if you're newer to the area, connected is a great way. Not now, but when you make that move to Palencia, talk to the board. Do they have a newsletter? Do they have a web blog? Do they have someplace where you could post a regular general news piece about real estate in Palencia?
Yeah.
It's a way that you can give back, but also set yourself apart. Now, if they have rules, and I'm sorry, you can't be the only one to do that. I don't care.
Right.
I don't care.
Right.
If any other realtor asks you to do it, let them do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. Let us take turns.
Yeah.
It definitely shows a lot about professionalism.
Right.
We're having a problem right now with a realtor who started a Facebook group for a community, and it is not the official Facebook community, the official Facebook page for the community. And she's taking down comments that people make if they say anything about another realtor.
Oh, I see.
So you have to be careful. But when you say this, if you were to approach Palencia and say, look, I'd love to post an article on, or give you an article on real estate if you'll just, tagline me.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can put my picture and the article on anything you want. Oh, if we did that for you, you'd have to do it. Great! Are there other realtors who are coming to you offering to do this? No? Well, if they do, I'll take turns, And that just sets a whole different perspective. It sets off, it removes that block from the other person to say, oh, okay, well, maybe it could work out.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if that's not going to work, maybe you create your own newsletter and send it out. So it's those kinds of ways to try and find. I think for you guys, finding even a company or group of people that if you're really working or strong with the investor environment, then see if you can bring some of the investors together and put on a buyer seminar or a seller seminar, where if you're not already using hard money lenders, that you either bring in a hard money lender who you think would be have something to say,
Mm-hmm.
or if they are looking for financing, bring in one of our preferred lenders to tell you what some of their specifics are for investors looking to buy multiple properties. Have one of our preferred title company people come and talk to your group, helping them better understand what the closing statement says, helping them better understand how the process works for title, or what to do when you get a bad title situation, or what if you run into a house that's in probate, or anything like that. So you can be you can be that resource for the source, or the source of the source. We never figured out what that was, but anyway. But so those would be some of the suggestions I would think.
Okay.
So start talking about it.
Alright. That's good, thank you.
Yeah. So that does lead us into that marketing element of it. Again, we've kind of touched on it. This is really know me, like me, trust me as a realtor. Really is kind of what it plays out to be. And then don't be afraid to share that. They understand that. It does lead into, that CRM, when you're looking at CRMs, and here's what I encourage you to do also at this point in time in your career with this, is find 2 or 3 CRMs that you think would work for you and do their 2 to 3 week test with 10 people that you know, so that you can send them something through that system and say, what did you think of this versus when I sent it to you through that other program. So something like Wise Agent or Lion's Desk or what's that? There's another one out there. Anyway, you can Google real estate CRMs and you'll see a bunch of them. We have quite a few people using Wise Agent. There's Wise Agent, Lion's Desk, Buffini, Referral Maker, Top Producer. Those are some of them I can think of off the top of my head, but just Google real estate CRM and you'll get a bunch.
Okay.
So it's kind of a good way to at least try the trial and see which one you connect to. You have to be able to connect to it and use the same 10 people. Don't use 10 people for this one, different 10 people for that one, same 10 people so you can get their feedback when you send them something through that system.
Okay.
It helps kind of facilitate that process. But things you're going to want to look at or evaluate would be things like, is it compatible with other programs you're using if you are using it? More specifically, can you easily pull the information out of it and can you put it into another program? So can I pull, export data out of this CRM and use that data to maybe share with somebody I'm having do a mail out so that they can do address labels? So you want something that it can export out of and import to and take from, export out of something else and import into, because you want to keep your time efficient so you don't have to re-enter a bunch of data. Can you evaluate your return on your investment? In other words, you've got all these people in your CRM and you've got 6 people that you're currently working with. What's the return on investment for the amount of time that it's taking me to work with those people? So what's my hourly rate, hourly commitment, that type of thing. Do you have strong customer support and training? You always want someone you want in my head, you want a program or an option that will allow you to connect with someone that can help you. And sometimes, for me, when it's someone that I can't understand well, it makes it very difficult and very frustrating for me. So it needs to be someone that you can understand or that can help you through the steps of whatever the challenges you have. Are you able to easily import and export out of it? Can you add information to your contacts? So if I've got you in my contact management program, can I, if all those fields, the fields that are set up, if there's one in there if there's not one in there that I want in there, can I add to it? So if I'm looking at a contact management program and it doesn't have home sale date, I want home sale date because I want to make sure I'm sending a card 2 weeks before that anniversary every year. So does it allow me to add that information? Can I set it up on a drip campaign? Can I put reminders in there it will remind me to do something? So it's supposed to be your electronic assistant, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
Is it customizable? Can I add fields? Can I add tags? Can you easily group or sort your contacts? So when I have you in my contact management, I want to be able to identify all the ways I know you. I know you from church, I know you from the book club, I know you from bicycling, I know you from homeschooling. So I might have 4 tags on you. So do that. 4 tags on you. But can I pull everybody who's my book club and then send them a review on a new book that I just heard about hey, I know this isn't part of our club, but I wanted to let you know that I just saw this review and I thought it really would pique many of your interests. Let me know if you ever read it, if you read it, thinking about it. So that's that psychographic connection,
Mm-hmm.
being able to sort your contacts based on a common element, and then send them common information.
Perfect.
So that's the tags and the psychographic piece of it. Marketing resources, they're all out there. Social media, there's a company called Prospects Plus that does a lot of print marketing. There's Hootsuite, which I thought just showed you how your social media laid out, but you can push into Hootsuite to send out to multiple social media platforms. So being efficient and effective there. Breakthrough Broker is another option that does provide some free electronic and print resources. Print itself, events. Have you considered throwing an event? That could be a buyer seminar, it could be a seller seminar, it could be
You
a
know,
party.
Honor does a great
picnic.
job with his Facebook group, and he's been kind of slacking the past couple of months, but we would have been doing events every month, getting together at a coffee shop. It's mostly for the deaf who are interested in investing.
Fantastic.
And so that would be like an opportunity for an event that we're already really doing that could bring to the next level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's also something you could take to another group.
Right.
I mean, easily
Mm-hmm.
to convert that to another group.
Yeah.
You can promote it maybe. A different strategy.
True.
Fantastic. Think about, as you do these events, take advantage, I mean, in a good way, take advantage of our preferred partners. If you're not sure what to do for that event,
Right.
have one of our preferred partners come in. They can talk
Who would
about
that be? Who would the preferred partners be?
like, for example, our preferred lenders currently are Carl Parnell with Homeowners Financial, Karen Chartier with she's a mortgage lady, and I can't remember who she's with. Excuse me, and Jim Schmidt with Loan Depot, and we're actually expanding that to include most likely Alan Lewis from Cross Country would be the fourth one that we would add to that, and possibly a fifth.
Okay.
But any of those people, so you reach out to them and say, hey, you know, I've got this group coming together. Can you come and speak to X?
Yeah.
Can you come and speak to Y? Closing companies, we use Landmark Title quite a bit. J. Riley Williams is another company that we're looking at bringing on board. So those are two that we use. Maybe you want to have a home inspector come and speak. Maybe they would be willing to do, for an investor, instead of full-blown home inspection, they'd be willing to do, you know, a fast and go inspection, where you look at, you know, four main systems,
Mm-hmm.
and they give you an idea, and for that it's X number of dollars, but you know, your group always uses them, so they're willing to do it for Y number of dollars, whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, and then events can be major events. I used to have a Halloween party every year for past customers and current customers, and people that were on my hot and warm list. Got up to be about 250 people at my house,
Oh, at your home, wow.
which was scary.
Yeah.
But, and that's because it was Halloween. But anyway, but I would say 97% of the people dressed up, and not once did we really have a problem.
Good.
So, in the years that we did it, probably did it 7 or 8 years. It was, I mean, we made it fun. We had,
Right.
you know, we had a DJ, and we had food, because there was alcohol, and, and we had a drag show, so it was trying to make it set it off, make it fun for everybody, and dancing, and, you know, I mean, it was just a way to say thank you,
Yeah.
right? But it turned out fun.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, so it's a way to take that event that you're currently doing, possibly put it on steroids,
Yeah.
or take the event and shift it a little bit. You know, so it's not always your responsibility to figure out what the focus will be.
Right.
That you allow others to.
That's what we've been, like Buzz has talked.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been
Of
doing a little
course.
bit of that. Yes.
But yeah, take advantage of some of our connections. Some of the people that we help support them, because they'll support you too
Yeah.
in a good way.
Perfect.
So think about those from the marketing standpoint. So creating your own plan, what you need to think about when you're creating your plan, and this is just a couple of pages in. past the goal worksheets and starting to talk about marketing. This, where did I put that? Okay, I didn't put that in here. I didn't put the graph in here. All right. So what we're talking about here is really looking at, first with your marketing plan, we need to identify the target. So who are the people? So if it's the investor group, we have to know it's the investor group, and we have to figure out what their motivations are. What are their top 3 motivations? And that's what we need to talk to. And then what we need to identify is, what are we going to do? What type of a program? Is it social? Is it print? Is it social and print? How does it play out? I don't know. We have to look at it. What's the length of the campaign? So if it's social, how many eyes do I want it? What kind of money? $10, $20, $100. What am I going to put behind it? How am I going to target it? How am I going to show that it's specific? How do I help find new people who might have the same interests? So what type of program is that? And does that program include the social and the print? What other pieces do I need to add to it for it to make sense? Because it really does need to be a campaign. If I'm just doing one thing, it's really hard to get that traction. Determine the quantity. Do I want to do this just for 50 people? Do I want to do this for 500 people? Changes the investment level. Should also change the expectation of outcome. Excuse me. Set the start time. When am I going to do this? How long is it going to last? When do I want to evaluate it? How often? So, and then monitor the results. Do I need to make shifts? And again, even when you do something and you say this is going to be an 8-week campaign, it's going to be every other week for the next 8 weeks. It's 4-week hit, 8-week total length. Still wait another 4 weeks before you really start to go, well, it didn't work. That's why it didn't work. Because now we have to have some sort of follow-up, and now we also have to have some evaluation period. We have to understand what's the residual. So where is it going? We can't just say, oh, it didn't work. I didn't get one piece of business. Okay. The goal doesn't always have to be that piece of business. The goal has to also be, how do I enhance my reputation? How do I enhance the brand? How has it enhanced as pieces of it? So this is in your plan example, and it's just a calendar, and all this is really trying to look at, lay it out early. So we're into almost June, heaven forbid. By August and September, I'm going to be asking you to please set business meetings with me, because that's when we should be looking at January through December.
Yeah.
We should kind of know what our layout is. And when we talk about layout, it's what am I doing for my centers of influence? How am I managing my center of influence? What am I doing for buyers and sellers? So when I talked about earlier about being consistency, it's one of the things that drives me crazy is that realtors aren't consistent. What do I do for every buyer? What do I do for every seller? How do I keep connected with them? And then we want to talk about any additional targets that you want, or anything that you're going to do if you're going to do a special event. I mean, I've had agents do pies. So they do pies for Thanksgiving. So about 4 weeks before Thanksgiving, they send out, an invitation. Hi, I wanted to thank you for being a part of my success this year. And they might send it out to their current and past buyers and sellers, and they may
That's a good idea.
limit it to 50. So they send out, I want to thank you for my business this year. I would like to provide you with a pie for Thanksgiving.
Where they'll say, I got this from my realtor. By the way, do you need a realtor?
Yeah.
With all the family being there, right?
Absolutely.
So smart.
Yeah. So then they get a return card that says, just little cards that says, apple, pumpkin, pecan, and they have to send that back by a certain date. And the only way for them to get the pie is to come to you. You don't go to them. So you stay at your office and say, okay, I have appointments available this day and this day to pick up your pie. Now, because you have the card, you know exactly how many you need to get, pumpkin, pecan, and apple, or whatever pies you want to do. And they then come to you, and you book your appointments, more than 15 minutes long. But it gives you a chance to say hi, ask them questions. How are you? How's the family? Who's going to be joining you? Where are you going to have it? Great. Are you enjoying your new home? Or how's it been since we sold your home? Or whatever it happens to be. You have a conversation. You have an opportunity to connect face to face.
Interesting.
We're still nose to nose, toes to toes, face to face.
Okay.
Even though so much is online, we're still that nose to nose, toes to toes.
And that's something that you would be able to do here at the office.
Absolutely.
Really? Okay.
You may set one day here, and you may set one day at San Jose, right?
Mhm.
And you tell them that I'll be at the beaches this day. Book your time. But then what it does is you send something out. It's an invitation. You get something back so you can prepare. You send something out to let them know when it's going to be. So you're staying in touch, communicating, and then you give them the pie.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go home, and at some point, it will come up in conversation. Usually, another agent did a pumpkin pie or a pumpkin carving contest where she delivered pumpkins to 50 of her, people who give her referrals or past customers, buyers from that year, and they had to carve the pumpkin, send the picture in. She had a group of us judging it. We judged it, and then the person who won a gift certificate for I can't remember what, and then she posted it, published it along the way, posted the pumpkins that were made, posted the winning pumpkin, so she made it an event.
That is so fun.
And so pick something that
And that's even like a COVID friendly way to.
absolutely, yeah.
That's really cool.
So anyway, she did say she was never doing the pumpkins again because she had to deliver all the pumpkins, and
Right.
she had 45 pumpkins in her car, and they kept rolling them out. So she's thinking, I can't do that again.
That's so funny.
But she did anyway. So, and then what we want to look at is, what's the timing, and then start reasonable, and then while this is going on, start to think about how you can expand your plan. What other ways, and this is kind of what we were talking about with where's the other opportunities in building your business. We have to consistently think about how can I build my business? How do I move from my investor group? Can I take my investor program that I've created with this specific group who has A in common to this group that has B in common? Does it translate well for them? Might. I don't know. We have to talk about that. So what are those things? And that becomes online lead generation. Do you want to buy leads? I don't know. Not a big fan. It either costs thousands of dollars to ensure that you get a good lead.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get concerned, are you buying the leads that you should have gotten anyway?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not the hugest fan of buying leads, but there are other organizations and groups. For example, one of our agents is involved with an LGBT group that he is a profile on their site, a consumer site.
Mm-hmm.
And the leads that come from there, he's not buying those leads. He doesn't pay anything until the lead closes. So he gets the lead, he can fetter the lead, he can qualify the lead, and then when the lead closes, he pays a referral fee. I'm more into that.
Yeah.
Find a specialty, find a unique opportunity where you don't pay for the lead until you close on the lead. Because I will tell you, a lot of the internet leads or random leads that come, there's so much qualification that has to be done before you find out whether they're real or not, yet you've already paid for them if you're buying leads.
Right.
At least that type of an organization, you're not paying.
But what's the difference between that and like a referral fee that they must be an agent, a realtor, right? Am I not understanding? If you were to go through an organization like the LGBT, that was a
It's a specific website.
specific website. So for them to get a referral fee as an incentive, they wouldn't have to be realtors.
No, they're a third-party organization.
Okay.
So we're paying them the referral fee. They're not a real estate brokerage,
Okay.
but we're paying them the referral fee to a third-party organization.
I didn't know that was okay.
Yeah. So there are groups like large relocation companies. For example, one would be leading real estate companies of the world.
Mm-hmm.
They're a third-party relocation that works with different real estate brokerages. So the real estate brokerage can pay into them a referral fee for giving them a piece of business. So they qualify as an entity to receive the referral fee.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So there are certain entities that do qualify. You're correct. We can't pay anything but brokerage to brokerage, but they're identified as an entity for real estate transactions.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So one is there's leading real estate companies of the world. It's probably one of the largest, and then there's another organization. They just changed their name about a year and a half ago. I can't remember what they call themselves now. Anyway, and then there's these other random organizations. Realtor.com has something similar, but more of what they try to push is you purchasing leads from them. So you buy a zip code, and they guarantee you a certain number of leads from that zip code, but for that you pay a fee.
Yeah.
So.
And I feel like a lot of people are just looking at the market and not serious buyers.
And you can almost tell when there's no phone number and some random email address. It's like,
No.
no.
Right.
No.
Right.
Not gonna happen. Relocation companies, it's kind of what we were just talking about now. Property management can be income producing because if you refer to property management, you still get a check, which is cool, and you get that property for that customer back when they're ready to sell. But you shouldn't be. I will tell you that when you put something into relocation, while Jonathan is excellent about tagging it to you, you should never find out from him that your customer now wants to sell.
Yeah.
Because you have to stay in touch with them even though
Right.
you referred. They may become a warm lead because you knew they were interested in selling, but not right now. But that'll happen later, so you stay in touch with them. But you should hear about it last from him.
Right. Well, that's, I mentioned to you that we had someone who was interested in selling and then buying, and that person is currently renting it out, and he has a one property that he's renting out on his own. So his lease does not really dictate that they must allow for pictures and showings, and they're not the most cooperative tenant. So we decided with them that he's going to wait until it's closer, because the lease is not for another 9 months or so.
Oh heavens! Okay, yeah.
So we decided to wait, but I forgot my point. But with that, we'll just keep following up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's perfect. So that I think you're going back to. You should hear from him first. You should hear from you're staying in touch with them so that you already know it's a 9 month. So every other month or every month you'll be sending them a note saying, I just want to see how's that tenant doing. Have they caused you any more problems? Is there any interest in potentially moving out early? Would you be open to that? Is that a negotiation thing that you're considering?
Right.
So, you'll be I'm not worried about you being in touch with them to ensure that continues to move forward. So that's great. But that's part of what a CRM can also help you with.
Yeah.
Networking, huge way to have business growth. Find organizations or within our industry where you have a connection. Whether you choose to start teaching, with Florida Realtors, I think it'd be a great thing. Whether it be whatever it happens to be, your networking can be really dynamic, really important. You also have some unique talents and unique interests, so I think that can be huge at expanding where and how and why.
Yeah.
Your base. Luxury properties, you mentioned it's some interest. We've had people express interest in it, and I feel badly because I haven't had the class yet. I feel like the interest has been fleeting. So, because it does take a lot of work. So, I think probably third quarter we'll probably do a first class. Maybe even second quarter, July, August, September. No, that'd be third quarter, wouldn't it? July, August, September, so that people can start planning for next year after we do that, if we do it early July. Just because it requires something that sometimes realtors are very hard to invest, which is money.
Yeah, does it? Promoting and...
Yeah, it does. You have to be able to present an image and have a plan. And in this market, you have to identify a luxury property and then be willing to talk to them. And a lot of realtors are like, look, no, I can do 6 other transactions. Other than one. Okay, well, then is it that important to you? I don't know.
Yeah.
If it's not, then that's okay. No one says it has to be.
Right.
It's your business. It's your model. So, evaluating your results. Don't tell that too soon. So, evaluating your results, what you need to do is start to look at, when we're talking about the results, you want to look at how and what your marketing gave you. So part of it is this piece here, but this is more about your business. So this is exactly where you are. you want to start to see when your business is occurring, because we may know of traditional seasonality in markets, like January, February tends to be a little slower. March, April tends to build up a little bit. But that's this market.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's April, May when in certain other markets it
Right.
starts to build up. So understanding this is the question I have. Is January, February slower because we've said it should be slower? Or is January, February slower truly because people aren't buying? There are always people who are buying or selling.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Right.
Even when the interest rate was 18%, there were still people buying and selling. So, or do we self-prophesize that? Because what ends up happening is October, November, December. September, October is usually a little heavier, and then December is a little heavier. But what realtors, people trying to get into the house before the end of the year so they can claim their homestead.
Mm-hmm.
But what realtors do is go, oh, it's the end of the year, you know, no one's gonna buy, you know,
Right.
so I'm not gonna advertise. So they don't do anything.
Right.
Well, if you don't do anything, how do you expect to have business in January? We're a 90-day funnel.
True.
If you're not advertising, marketing, or pushing in October, November, why would you think you would have anything in January, February?
Mm-hmm.
Except for what falls in your lap.
So
So
true.
sometimes I wonder, are we just self-prophesizing?
Yeah.
we do stuff like that.
That makes sense.
But it's one versus the other. But the pages that follow are for us to start looking at as your business starts to grow. So peek through those, because we're going to want to look, when is your business coming in? We're going to want to look at what's the average price point. We're going to want to look at how long is your stuff on the market. We're going to want to look at what do you do when you have a buyer consult. What do you tell them you will do? What do you
Will we
actually
go over
do?
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Wednesday, Thursday is purchase and sale agreement. Friday is buyer consult. So we'll talk about the buyer interview. Please don't show more than 2 houses without sitting down for a 30-minute conversation. Please don't. It diminishes the value of what you bring, and it can also set you up for a bad experience for both you and your buyer. So sit down, talk about.
Where do you sit?
You can sit at a coffee shop, you can sit at their home, you can sit at your home. Really good places just to bring them into the office. If you know someone, your opportunities to sit with them are greater, or the location to sit with them are greater. When it's someone you don't know well, bring them to the office.
Okay.
Plenty of space,
Mm-hmm.
no problem. Excuse me, we have Apple TV on that, so if you want to connect up and show properties and talk and get them engaged, great. But more so to sit down and say, look, we've seen 2 houses. Tell me about that. Now, where are you in the process? Who are you using for your lending? Have you already talked to them? Have they pre-qualified you? Because here's the deal. I'm showing you $600,000 homes. Happy to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But if your lender tells you can only, work with 450, I'm doing you a disservice.
Right.
You're not going to like me very much,
Mm-hmm.
because what you get at 450 is probably not what you're expecting at 600.
Right.
So I want to make sure this works for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, you're at 600 and you could do 8. Now you don't have to.
Right.
But if you know that, I can tell you what you're going to get here versus here, and you have to make the decision if the payment makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to spend 600, and you don't have to spend 800.
Right.
But we need to know where you need to be,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to understand what you want so I can tell you where you're going to find that when we get to the price point that you want to be.
Right.
And here's what I want you to understand that you need to expect. I'm your expert. And you give them, we have a whole packet that you can pull the pieces out, follow the interview. But that's the buyer consult. It can be 30 minutes, it can be an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And you usually tell people, look, I would say a lot an hour, we may be done in 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But an hour is a good amount of time to have that conversation. And if they take you over. Now, the thing is, you tell them, you allot an hour, maybe done in 30 minutes, you allot 2 hours.
Yeah. Right.
Because you'd be surprised how many questions then come up.
Mm-hmm.
Because people don't know. Most people. And you know what? even if you bought it 3 weeks ago, completely different now.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Yeah.
And it's going to look completely different. So we may not need to go into all the detail, but we're going to have to figure this out.
Yeah.
And I need to be your guide through this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time to solidify the relationship. It's time to build confidence for yourself and for them in you. It's time to get questions out onto the table. It's time to resolve issues. It's time to determine if now is the right time. I mean, through buyer consults, we have had agents say, gotta be honest with you, this is not the right time for you to do this. It's just not. Now, 6 months? I think it could be. Now,
Financially, or for what reason?
it could be anything. It could be what their expectations are. It could be where they're looking. It could be the fact that one of them is potentially having a job change, but they think they have to buy something because the market's so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that you brought in one of our preferred customer or preferred lenders, and the lender said, you know, look, they've got 3 things they need to pay off. This is why it's so important for them to get pre-qualified, a buyer, for you to get pre-qualified and hopefully pre-approved, because a good lender will say to them, look, here's the deal, your score is 610. It can be 675 if you'll just pay off these 3 things, but I know it's going to take you 6 months.
Yeah.
That's you're becoming the source of the source. You brought that person in. That person was honest. You heard, so you knew exactly, okay, they're not a hot buyer, they're a warm buyer. So here's what I need to do to get them here. And so now your follow-up is completely different.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, so it's I like buyer consults and I like seller consults. A lot of people call seller consults the listing presentation, but it's really more sitting down and saying, and we recommend either a 2 or 3 step process. Like, first step is usually not even face to face. First step is usually on the phone. Let me ask you a couple questions. Let me kind of get a feel for what we're looking at. Let me get a feel for what we're trying to do with your home and what your goals are. Next, getting there face to face in front of them, touring the house, talking, understanding what the condition is, understanding what the motivation is, what the timeline is, what's reasonable, what's not reasonable, really just talking about it. Now, when you go on your first face-to-face, you'll always be prepared with a preliminary CMA, a market analysis, but you should never really share it at that point. It should always be your second face-to-face, which is usually when you're signing the listing agreement. Oftentimes, the first face-to-face builds the rapport and strength of the relationship so much that they're usually just asking you where to sign.
Mm-hmm.
They feel strongly enough where to sign, especially if it's out of your center of influence. And even if it's not, usually because you took the time to do this, you've dropped off something, you now have had a consult with them before you've given them a number. You know, because if they can't trust you, if they don't know you, like you, trust you, they don't trust you that you're going to be a good realtor for them, why are we even having a conversation about price?
Right.
I could tell you $3 million.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't sell it, if you don't trust me, there's no way I'm going to be able to sell it for you at $3 million, even though it's a $900,000 house.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the premise that we kind of start the process with.
Okay.
So
That's good.
yeah, so then it's next week is prospecting on Monday, prospecting on Tuesday, and then listing agreement Wednesday, Thursday, and seller consult Friday.
Perfect.
So
Perfect. You know, as we were talking, I was thinking about another way to market. And we have 16 Airbnbs, so if I were to get some brochures going on or talk to Erica about that, I could leave out that in our business cards and try and. A lot of them are in the area to move, so that would be one way.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that should be a way. There should be a get to know Jacksonville folder in each of your Airbnbs that either talks about restaurants or identifies 5 different neighborhoods, and would you consider moving to Jacksonville? This is contact us. Absolutely, I think there should be. Or maybe there's as part of your Airbnb process, you offer a city tour every so often, once a quarter or something, and maybe you do that as an event, a city tour to your Airbnb customers. Maybe you rent a bus, you're one of those, not party buses, but you're just the bus and you do a 90-minute Jacksonville tour or something, to differentiate not only you, but your process, and that they'll recommend people to come to your Airbnbs too.
Right.
So,
Interesting. Yeah. No, just recently. I mean, for a long time, I was trying to be behind the scenes with Airbnb, as you know, I thought it was more of like the personal connection was not always good because they didn't see me as a professional. I don't know. I thought that was a problem. And because I rented out my duplex, so I lived on one side and they lived on the other, and so it was not always in my benefit. But now I'm switching over that thought because I'm not on site as often. So it'll be different, but I hope that'll help as being a realtor.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I would think it would.
Yeah.
I would think it would. I know that any Airbnb that we've done, we usually try and at least meet with them when we first get there. I know when we did Dubrovnik, the lady, he was saying, would you be able to talk to us for like 15 minutes? And we get in, she's like, yeah, sure. She came with a map and like, here's some, and then I said, well, we're kind of like foodies, and we're like, oh, here. I mean, she was great. And it was just fantastic. I mean,
Awesome, yeah.
such a great experience.
That's really cool. No, we've always been doing like, because we started just when COVID was starting. So everything has been just checking code and
Sure.
we'll be connected in other ways. But yeah, I've never even done a personal check-in.
Mm, okay. Yeah, that makes sense though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I was never worried so much myself with COVID, but for them, it was
Sure.
a big concern.
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. A whole different perspective to it,
Yeah.
which is nice.
Yeah.
Very good to do that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's a little bit about us and a little bit about business planning. Questions on that portion?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Let me stop this, and then we'll add to it. I think I can take it right through.